Welcome into OutKick the Show. I am your fearless leader. I hope all of you are having a fantastic day wherever you may be across this great country or this great land. We got a lot to get to, and we got a lot of people who want to be on the show because we are continuing to roll up audience members. That's because you guys either like me or hate me, but you keep coming back. And so I want to tell you something that I love. TrueFit. Look. A lot of you looking at me right now and you're thinking, my goodness, how is Clay Travis in the incredible physical condition that he is? How is that even possible? Well, it's a great question. It's a great question that a lot of you have been asking a tremendous amount. And the answer is because I legitimately am a physical freak. When you think of all the physical freaks out there, the LeBron Jameses of the world, the Lionel Messi's, the people like me, well, we use TrueFit, all right? In all seriousness, my wife is an incredible health nut. She is like dyed-in-the-wool, incredible physical shape. She is using this product, and she absolutely loves it. It's made by athletes. It's all organic, all natural. It tastes a lot better than some of the shakes and some of the products that you might have eaten before. That doesn't have the same quality. It doesn't have a good aftertaste. Doesn't make you feel good after you ate it. It's one of the reasons, and drank it. It's one of the reasons why these products sometimes fail. Well, TrueFit's a difference maker. It really is. It will make you much healthier. Again, brought to you by athletes. I am drinking it. I love it. The chocolate flavor here is fantastic. Go to rspnutrition.com and use the promo code CLAY for 20% off. Discounts not available to any other audience. rspnutrition.com and use the promo code CLAY for 20% off. These guys do incredible work, and I'm not just saying that. We love this product. My wife's been using it, and she's a lot better looking than me and a lot better shape than me and also has a lot better taste than me, and she loves this product as well. So TrueFit, again, the website, rspnutrition.com, the promo code CLAY for 20% off. All right, we got a lot to get to. And I want to dive into a lot of different stories. And I'm going to begin with my buddy Dan LeBatard. Now, I've never met Dan LeBatard. We have overlapping acquaintances, overlapping friends, but I don't believe I've ever met him. So I try not to curse on the show because some of you have kids and you've said, hey, Clay, my kids are listening in the car. So I'm about to curse because I'm quoting Dan LeBatard here. He said on his podcast today that I was a, quote, shit stain for my Donald Trump interviews on our radio show. And then he took a couple of more shots, I think, whatever. People sent me the link, and we wrote about it at OutKick because, whatever, people want to take shots at me, we'll write about it on OutKick. But what I think is more intriguing here than LeBatard taking shots at me is this is what sports media is. If you are willing to bow down to the far left-wing agencies in sports media, and if you are willing to kiss their rings, whether it's players, whether it's coaches, whether it's teams, whether it's leagues, but more importantly, again, it's the media itself, then they reward you. They praise you. Oh, look how left-wing and liberal this guy is. It's so brave. But what about when a lot of it is just bunk? What about when a lot of people are out there ripping America and praising China, which is what's happening in the NBA all the time? If you want to stand up for something, maybe stand up to an authoritarian Chinese regime instead of taking their money, looking the other way, and trying to rip America in the process. So this is kind of what happens. When you are willing to say exactly what you think, and when your opinion cuts against the left-wing sports media mainstream, people get upset and they start taking shots at you. Now, I don't listen to LeBatard's show. It's not a shot at LeBatard's show. I don't listen to anybody else's show because I care about my 3-hour daily show. I care about this show. I barely have any time to do all the jobs that I have. And so, to me, it's just a further credit of the influence and the scope and the reach that both myself and OutKick have, that so many other media entities out there spend so much time thinking about what I say. I mean, they really do. It blows my mind how many Blue Checkmark Brigade members come and watch every show and listen to every radio show. And they're like, oh my goodness, did you hear what Clay Travis said? Yeah, it's the same thing I say in my house. If I set my wife down here with me right now and I said, what do I sound like at dinner every night? She would say, just like you do on the radio. There's not a big difference. The reason why this show works, the reason why my column works, the reason why our business works is because I believe in authenticity in a profoundly inauthentic age. And if you were sitting with me watching a game, I would sound the exact same watching the game sitting with you as I would on my radio program. If you sat down and had a beer with me in a bar, I would sound the exact same in that bar conversation as I do on the radio. My hair would be better looking in person. Other than that, I would look the exact same. There wouldn't be any difference. So I believe in a profoundly inauthentic age, in saying what you believe, owning it, not turning and running from it, defending it, basing it on sound facts. That's what I do every day. And that upsets some people. And that's, by the way, the reason why our audience is continuing to grow as rapidly as it is. January is going to be the best month in the history of OutKick. People are like, oh, as soon as Donald Trump leaves office, you guys are going to fall apart at OutKick. Really? Because January is going to be the best month we ever had. And December after the election, one of the best months we've ever had. I think it was the best month we've ever had. And so I just think we're going to continue to roll because OutKick's going to be 10 years old in July, and we've been rolling for 10 years. And the people out there who believe that who the president is going to dictate whether you succeed or fail, to me, that's a failure of yours. Yeah, there are people that I believe make better presidents than others. There are people that do better jobs as politicians. But if your success or failure on an individual level is determined by who is the president of the United States, then that's a you problem. If it's determined by who's in the Senate, that's a you problem. I believe in individual ability, and you should succeed no matter who the president is, and no matter who the senator is, and no matter who your congressman is. Don't look to other people to provide excuses for why you are not succeeding. Look within. This is one of the things I've been hammering for years. Ultimately, you decide whether or not you succeed or fail. That's it. The only hand you can rely on is the one at the end of your sleeve. And look, there are lots of people. I wish they told me, hey, Clay Travis, you get to pick a lot of different leaders in the United States. There are people that I think would do a great job. You guys know that I've been arguing I should make every college football coaching hire. I think I'd do an incredible job analyzing the different possibilities at college football coaching. I'm about to talk about college football coaching. I wish the University of Tennessee would come to me and say, Clay Travis, you've been going to games in Neyland Stadium since you were 5 years old. We want you sitting on our interviews with head coaches. We want you helping to review the resumes. We want you to be involved in making the decision about who the next University of Tennessee football coach should be if Jeremy Pruitt gets fired. Guess what? I think I'd do a good job. But it's not going to determine whether or not I succeed or fail. Nothing is, other than my work, other than my work product, other than my effort. And if anything out there, regardless, Democrat, Republican, Independent, if you are using someone else as an excuse for why you are not succeeding, then that is a crutch. I didn't think I was being adequately compensated when I was working in sports media. Do you know what I did? I didn't whine about it. I didn't moan about it. I didn't complain about it. I started my own company. That's what taking control of your future is. And then I went out and sold every advertisement for several years. Now we're, 20 plus people absolutely rolling, and we're about to announce some new additions, and I think you're going to like them. And there's so many different moving parts out there. Ultimately, all I can control is my work ethic and my work product. And I find that the harder I work and the better work product I get out there, the bigger and better of a success my shows and my company becomes. Go figure. Speaking of, I wish Dan LeBatard well. I've invited him, by the way, on my show before. I'd be happy to go on his show. I don't run and hide. I mean, people expect that I would. I don't. You got a decent-sized audience that's somewhat comparable to mine. I'll go talk to your audience. I don't have time to do every single podcast on the planet. I don't have time to do every single radio show on the planet. I used to do them all. That's how I built up my ability on radio. When I was 25 years old writing articles, if you sent me an email and asked me to come on your show, I was there. I did hundreds, probably thousands of local radio hits before I even realized that I was pretty good at radio. That's how I got into radio, by the way, because I would go on and talk about my columns. And then I was like, man, you know what? I'm a decent guest for 10 or 15 minutes. Maybe I can stretch it out to an hour someday. Maybe I can stretch it out to 2 hours. I do 3 hours every day. And the way I got there was by doing practice as a guest. So I don't have time to do that all the time, but I don't run and hide. LeBatard's got an open invite on my show. I'd be happy to go on his podcast. I do a home and home. I'll answer any question. I'd expect for him to answer questions too. I don't run and hide. And also, I don't randomly throw out insults, but he's welcome to do that. To me, it's just a sign of how much OutKick has grown that other radio programs or other podcasts spend time talking about me. That's how influential we've become, and that's part of the par for the course. Farther up you move on the flagpole, more the wind blows, more people talk about you. I can handle it. Tennessee coaching drama continuing to build. Chris Lowe went on my buddy's, my former radio show in Nashville, speaking of Nashville radio, 3HL, with Brent Doherty and Dawn Davenport, two friends of mine. And he said that he didn't think, basically, that it was very likely that Jeremy Pruitt was going to keep his job. And then today at ESPN, Mark Schlabach reported that due to the investigation into purported NCAA issues, that Jeremy Pruitt has now had his ability to hire new coaches restrained. And so Tennessee's got coaches, assistant coaches, whose contracts are coming up, and also larger issues with Jeremy Pruitt in play. They have 2 vacancies, I believe, on their staff right now. It's looking like Tennessee is attempting to find a reason to fire Jeremy Pruitt. Now, I say looking like. I don't get involved in the weeds of investigations like that. I'm not claiming that I am. The reason why they would want to find a reason to fire Jeremy Pruitt is because it could save them $12.4 million. Or they could negotiate out a settlement in some way. If they negotiated out the settlement, $12.4 million, if he's found to have violated NCAA rules, they could fire Pruitt for cause, which would mean they wouldn't owe him any more money at all. If it is found that he did not violate NCAA rules, then if they decided to fire him, they'd have to pay $12.4 million. So, as a buyout. We'll see what ends up happening there, but this is a story worth putting a pin in and following. Deshaun Watson, speaking of worth paying attention to, report out there that Deshaun Watson, even though he's agreed to a long-term contract with the Houston Texans, is not happy with the direction of the Houston Texans franchise. You can imagine he went 4-12 this year. The offensive stats that he posted were phenomenal, but the overall direction of the Houston Texans franchise is not in a very positive direction. And so there are reports that he would like to be traded and that his contract is a good enough deal for a team that doesn't have a lot of money invested in a player, that there could be some teams that are interested in making a move to add Deshaun Watson. I tend to think this is a designed leak to try and have some influence over the decision that is made on the coaching hire, and that Deshaun Watson wants somebody who can come in and not Bill O'Brien the place and help to build things back up. Remember, the Texans don't have a first or second round draft pick this year. In fact, they actually had their number 1 first round draft pick, which is number 3 overall, grabbed by the Miami Dolphins this year. It wasn't protected, and the Texans never thought they were going to go 4-12, so they're going to end up giving the Miami Dolphins their number 3 overall pick. Now, as we're rolling through the program, a lot of you out there, it is winter. And maybe you're already starting to think a little bit as we move into January about spring break. February or March, maybe you're going to get away somewhere. I'm going to Mexico. You want to get the beach body, but you also want to take care of your below the belt region. You want to make sure that your balls will thank you. And we've got all sorts of incredible products. If you're a woman out there watching or listening, if you're a man that wants a woman not to cringe when she happens to check you out and you're making a move, and you want to make sure that you're well groomed, you want your balls thanking you, you want her thanking you and saying, my goodness, you've really taken care of yourself. Women take care of themselves. Men often don't. That's why you need manscaped.com. Right now, every product under the sun you could possibly want will hook you up and take you into the promised land more frequently, and also make your partner a lot happier at your grooming decisions. Whatever it is, whatever you need, they can hook you up at manscaped.com. Go check out everything from ball trimmers to ear trimmers to ball dust, you put on so you're not sweating as much. Whatever you need, manscaped.com can take care of you. All you need to do is use the code DBAP20. That'll get you 20% off everything plus free shipping. Manscaped.com. Use the code DBAP20. Your balls, as I just said, will thank you. Okay, couple of other things. Bama-Ohio State. It's looking like Bama-Ohio State is going to happen. I feel like I need to knock on wood because so much has been canceled in the college football universe, but it's looking like we are going to get Bama-Ohio State. In fact, the line is moving around in an interesting way. It got up to 8.5 points, which is pretty steep, and I started thinking to myself, okay, what exactly is going on with Justin Fields' health? Maybe Kristen Saban is on to something. Now that line has started to pull back a little bit. It's still over 7, which is a significant number. It's still hanging out around 7.5. Over-under has dipped a little bit down to 74.5. But this is one of 7 remarkable games that I can't wait to watch. Tomorrow on the radio show, I'm going to give you my OutKick 6-pack. We have been on absolute fire with the OutKick 6-pack. 62% winners this year. I'm going to give you 6 picks for the OutKick 6-pack. All you have to do, listen to the radio show tomorrow, or come back and hang out with me tomorrow on OutKick the Show, or follow me on Twitter at Clay Travis, and you will be able to check out everything having to do with the show overall. The 6 picks with 3 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday. Remember, I am going to Ravens-Titans here in Nashville for the first home playoff game in 12 years in the city of Nashville. I can't wait. I'll be taking my kids. I'm really looking forward to it. Couple of other stories that are out there. The protest fallout. Here's my take on the protest. I talked about it all day yesterday. There continues to be more fallout today. I believe that when protesters break the law, and certainly when they commit crimes of violence in the midst of the protest, they should be charged the maximum penalty under the law. It's the same position that I have had all the way back in the summer when there were riots all over America, when there were buildings burning, when there were businesses being looted. My position was pretty straightforward. We need to find the people responsible for crimes amidst a protest. There's a distinction between protesters and rioters. Protesters, that's fine. That's the First Amendment. That's what America stands for. Rioters need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. If you're tearing down public property, statues, if you're defacing public buildings, you need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Whether you are a Republican, whether you are a Democrat, whether you're an independent, or whether you're so clueless you have absolutely no political affiliation at all, whoever these people are, figure out, track them, charge them with crimes. It's not complicated. Very few people join me, by the way, in the summer in having that position. It's what I argue. We've got to have law and order. And my position, the great thing about my positions, which is why I try and be consistent more so than anybody else in sports media and almost more so than anybody in media, instead of looking through every story with the prism of, are these people on my side or are they against me? I look at everything through the prism of, what's the precedent here? My precedent's pretty straightforward. Charge the people who committed crimes inside the United States Capitol, just like we should charge people for crimes for tearing down statues or looting property or looting businesses, period. It's easy. It's straightforward. It's equal justice under the law. It's what I think should happen. Elon Musk has become the richest man in the world, passing Amazon.com's Jeff Bezos. Props to Elon Musk. The run that Tesla has been on, I don't know how many of you have Tesla stock, but congratulations if you do. I wish I had bought Tesla stock. I put all my money in sports gambling, and by the way, those companies have done pretty well. Back in March, if you remember, when everybody was panicked and the stock market was falling to like 18,000, I told you it was the buying opportunity of a lifetime. I told you exactly what stocks I was buying. All the Corona bros out there were like, Clay Travis is crazy. He's giving everybody awful advice. Most of the time, in fact, all of the time, what I tell you to do is what I'm doing. And I may be wrong. I may be imperfect. Just like all of you, I'm human. But again, it goes back to the authenticity. I try to tell you exactly what I'm doing. Who am I voting for? What stocks am I buying? Am I traveling? Just got back from Universal Studios. Am I going to football games? Yes, I'm going to the Ravens-Titans on Sunday. I try to be 100% honest with you every single day. Do I always manage to do that? Maybe not, because I'm not perfect, but I do it better than I think almost anyone with a national platform in the world of sports. Finally, I don't agree in general with the idea of these content platforms making decisions about banning people when they are not applying those rules evenly across the entire world, all right? So when the New York Post story about Hunter Biden got blocked, I came on here on this show straightforwardly and said this is a bad decision. You can't block a story from being distributed on social media. Turns out much of that story is 100% accurate, but irrespective of that, the platforms, Twitter, Facebook, all of them shouldn't be in the business, in my opinion, of investigating individual stories that are being published by mainstream media outlets. Let the public make decisions there as to whether or not they want to consume that content. And if you're not stopping terrorists and dictators from having Twitter accounts, North Korea has Twitter accounts, I believe Iran has Twitter accounts, I certainly know Iranian politicians have Twitter accounts. There are regular falsehoods that are shared by those leaders that are not blocked on Twitter, that are not labeled as falsehoods. So I don't have a problem if there is a single rule that is being applied universally across all of the world so that authoritarian dictators like Chinese President Xi and everybody else who is working for his government aren't allowed to spread propaganda on the social media platforms, and they're being labeled when they are telling lies and when falsehoods are involved. I think that's an incredibly difficult challenge. I think it's almost impossible to apply universally in a efficacious manner that holds up the standard to a high level of trust. But I don't think that Twitter and Facebook and Instagram should be blocking the President of the United States access to communicate to people on their platforms. I disagree with it. And I would disagree with it if they were doing it to Joe Biden, if they were doing it to Barack Obama, if they were doing it to Ronald Reagan, if they were doing it to George W. Bush. I think that is a communication mechanism that is important. I wish that Trump, as I've said for years, tweeted in a better and more productive manner than he does. I wish he didn't vent as often as he does. I wish he didn't behave in the way that he does on Twitter. I've said that for years. But I think it's important when the president is trying to do things to have a record of what he's saying and allow people to judge for themselves. All right, I appreciate all of you, so I don't like the idea of censorship on stories involving political figures, especially when it's not being applied in Iran, in China, North Korea, when there are leaders taking advantage of Twitter's platform, spreading way more significant falsehoods on a regular basis that we are doing nothing to stop from spreading, particularly China, which has taken over in many ways the flow of Twitter. Even though they don't allow it in their own country, they allow, Twitter does, they allow Chinese bots to influence our discourse in this country all the time. And that's why my final position for you is, guys, we're in a Cold War with China. And while we are fighting internally, while there are Republicans and Democrats throwing elbows, throwing punches at each other every single day while their supporters are doing the same, right now, China is laughing at us because they are kicking our ass and dominating us. And they're not fighting internally because, guess what? They don't have freedom of speech. They don't have basic human rights. They are eating our lunch. And they are fomenting all sorts of chaos inside of our country using, I believe, social media platforms. And instead of recognizing that we are in a Cold War with China, like we were in a Cold War with Russia when I was a kid in the 1980s, we are, for the most part, fighting so much internally that China is punching us in the back of the head, and we aren't even noticing where the punches are coming from. We're not even turning at them and squaring up and getting in a fair fight. I appreciate all of you hopping on to make some gambling picks here shortly on Fox Bet Live. Go get hooked up with my guys here. Like I said, great stuff at TrueFit, and go get hooked up with Manscaped as well. My thanks to all of them. My thanks to you. And as always, most importantly, I thank the haters, because without you, I couldn't have been anywhere near as successful as I am. Thank you for watching. maybe not most importantly. The ones who like me are the most important because you have great taste, but the haters also help. This has been OutKick the Show. DBAP, unless you